This is the second episode in a 2-episode series, and if this title makes you upset, well, go back and listen to the other one first, because this episode is Substitute Teachers Are Better Than Teachers.
Substitute Teachers Lounge.
All right, I counted up, and I think I'm right around 11 long-term substitute teacher jobs over my 3 years, almost 4 years of substitute teaching. And during one of those, when I thought I was struggling a little bit, I actually had somebody tell me that they thought I was better than some of the teachers there. Now, they shouldn't have said that. Did it make me feel better? No. Now, you know, in every profession, first of all, that there's going to be 90%, maybe 95 really good people in that profession. There's going to be 5% of the people that maybe aren't as good, don't have their heart in it as much. You're going to get that in teaching too. So I wish that person hadn't said that. They said it to make me feel better. They'd said it to me more than once. But today, let's talk about how substitute teachers are better than teachers. All right. Now, you know, last week's episode was just the opposite. Teachers are better than substitute teachers. This time we're going to turn it around a little bit. I hope we have some teachers listening to this, and I dare you to disagree with me. Now, let's start with the obvious one first. Substitute teachers are better than teachers because they have to know more students every year. Okay? Here's what I mean. Teachers roll in every day. They know what students they're going to see. They're teaching the same students every day for a year. Sometimes that's tough. You know, I kind of like mixing it up every now and then, but they see, let's see here, we've got maybe 6 periods during the day. Let's forget about planning period for a while. Even if they're at 30 students a day, that means they are dealing with 180 students that school year. All right? Guess what? I counted it up. Substitute teaching this year, I think I'm getting close to have taught almost 2,000 students. Think about it. All of the high school, all of the middle school. You have to multiply that out. All of a sudden, it starts adding up. Now, I talked about last week how teachers have more responsibility, but it is the responsibility of good substitute teachers to be better than teachers in that they have to deal with a lot more students than the teachers do. They have, if they're good, they have to remember names. They know how much it means to that student to remember their name when they go back in the second time. They even have to remember, you know, for lack of a better thing, I'll call it personalities. I had one student that when everybody else was doing something electronic, they had to have paper. I had to remember that. I had to remember that this student, for whatever reason, needs to sit in this chair every time, not non-disciplinary. They just need to perhaps maybe be by a window or be by a door. We have to remember all that. We have to look at those. You know, some areas call them 504s. I don't remember exact phrases, but we have to be familiar with the personalities of those students, what their intricacies are. We have to, doggone it, we have to try our best to remember their names. That's tough, guys. We are substitute teachers. We are human. We got to remember the teachers' names. We got to remember all those students' names. And substitute teachers are better than teachers in that we have to deal with at least 2 times as many students as teachers do. Substitute teachers are better than teachers in their preparation. Whoa, what is Greg talking about now? Here we go. Nope, not talking about lesson plans, anything like that. Our prep work is actually a little more intense, maybe at an upper level, because we get to the point where we don't want to just substitute anything. We want to substitute for certain teachers. We hope that we build up that reputation of being responsible and being their favorite substitute. So our preparation work is, if we don't get a specific assignment from a teacher, maybe through a text, we have to prep in that. We have to look over those teachers that have posted an absence. We have to find out information about them. By the way, there's another podcast episode for that, so go back to that. We have to be prepared. We can't just, if we're good, we can't just show up at a school and teach. You teachers have to prepare the work. We have to come into it blind. I tell you what we wish you would do. We wish that every time you post an absence, and I know you have the ability to do this, that you post the assignment attachment right there with the absent. It gives us a feel for what we're doing the next day. We have to be better prepared in that regard, because we are coming in blindsided. We go into that classroom not having any clue of what we're teaching. Hopefully, we're able to look up your name and find out the topic. That works maybe 20% of the time, but we have more prep work up front before we even have the job. We have to play, I always call it, as you know, substitute lottery. We have to get on Frontline. There was a time, and I cringe when I say that because I hope I'm not talking about you. I hope you're still not one of those that goes into Frontline and hits the refresh button every few seconds. It will refresh on its own. I don't know if you do that. I use SubAlert. By the way, let me go ahead and say this. It has come to my attention. There's episodes all over the place about Frontline and SubAlert. In reading all the comments on the Substitute Teachers group page on Facebook, I know that there are people very upset with the Frontline app, and most everybody has more success with just going into the Frontline website and dealing with their transactions there. I wouldn't recommend using the Frontline app anymore. It does have a notification. I had one person on the Facebook group say that they got a job that they hadn't even opened the app, so I'm not sure what's up with that, but use their website. I would still, if you want to be notified, use SubAlert. It is much faster than anything else out there. But back to substitute teachers are better than teachers, because we have to prepare up front. We go into the job blindsided. Help us out. Provide us with as much information as you possibly can so that our prep work was easy. Guys, teachers, we want to do a good job for you. We want to kind of know what students. Here's my desire. If you're going to post an absence teacher, do this. Like I said, post a copy of the assignment. Make some notes there that says, I teach 7th grade math, or whatever it is. That gives us a feel for what we're teaching. I know when you post your absence, something may be going on in your family. It may even be traumatic. You still have to post that absence. We still want to do a good job for you. We don't want you to come back from that traumatic event and we not have known enough to get through that class for you. We don't want them to be behind when you come back. We don't want those students to be behind. So leave us as much information as you possibly can, because substitute teachers are better than teachers in that they have to prepare for being blindsided when they go into the classroom. Substitute teachers are better than teachers because they just have to do what they're told. That might sound a little weird to you, but hang with me on this. Teachers, I hope you stand up for what you believe in. I hope you go to administration and tell them the issues you're facing. Substitute teachers, we basically can't do that. We can support you. We can support the other teachers. So substitute teachers are better than teachers in that we have to tolerate more. We just have to accept it. We might see something in a classroom that we think we may have even been able to do better, but it's not really our place to say anything. We have to be quiet in the things that we see. If we think there's diagrams on the board that could be better, can't really say anything unless asked for. But teachers, keep that in mind, that substitute teachers want to do well. We would love for you to ask for our comments. We would love, and several people have done this to me, we would love to hear the words out of your mouth that say, do you have any ideas in this regard? How would you do this? If you can support this in a different way, go ahead and use your methods as long as you cover the subject. We love hearing stuff like that. So substitute teachers are better than teachers, that we have to be quiet. We can't really speak until we've been spoken to. Now, that's a little ridiculous sounding, but we have to do the hierarchy thing. We have to go through the chain of command. We can't just go to a principal and say, listen, I think this teacher could do better in this regard. That is not our place. We have to keep to ourselves, so to speak, and if we're not spoken to, we really can't act on anything. Help us feel a part. Teachers, substitute teachers sometimes have to just sit in the shadows because they're not sure they're welcome at certain teacher activities during the day. Make substitute teachers feel like they're needed. Make sure that they know how valuable they are to the school. Last couple of days, I have seen bunches of substitute. I kind of followed them because I had a substitute teaching job for the day, but I saw the listings for that day. Some would go in the night before and still be unfilled at the time school was supposed to start. And this is supposed to be the time, it's basically April of 2022. So it's supposed to be the time where maybe the worst of the COVID coverage is behind us, but yet there's all these unfilled subs needs. So make us feel important. Make us feel like that we're there for a reason, and we will love you for it, believe me. Substitute teachers are better than teachers in that there are extra things that we like to do because we want to, that teachers have to do because they have to. This coincides a little bit with last week's show because substitute teachers don't have to go to the extracurricular events, but those of us that really enjoy working with the students, we want to go there. We want to be part of those ball games and those activities in the students. I would encourage you, teachers, that if there's some kind of special event, don't stick us over in the corner and have us maybe file paperwork. Help us to be part of the event. We want to be there. We want to maybe stay a little bit after school and help you out. We want to come in early perhaps and meet you before you have to leave for a meeting. Maybe that was the reason for your absence. We want to be there to help you out in that regard. So substitute teachers are doing those things because they want to. They want to do well. When you leave an assignment on the desk, it's kind of funny. I saw, on the Substitute Teachers Lounge Facebook group, somebody posted a picture of a lady's desk. I shouldn't say a lady. I think she mentioned it was a lady, but it could be a man too, of somebody she was substituting for, that she went in and there was a color-coded folder for every a lesson for every class period with the copy stuck inside the folder. Now, that's probably going beyond the call of duty for the teacher. We appreciate it when you do that. Teachers, don't leave us in a situation where we have to guess. I've seen that. I've gone in to substitute teach where there was nothing on a desk, and when one of the teachers that were there came down to help me, also couldn't believe there was nothing on the desk. But substitute teachers are better than teachers in that we want to be a part of every activity. We're not just required to, we're not required to, but we want to be a part of those activities too. So please help us out in doing that. And finally, substitute teachers are doing this more for the fun than for the money. Now, that's not entirely true, but here's what we're saying in comparison to teachers. There's a lot of us that are retired. I'm not a retired teacher. I'm a retired accountant, but there are a lot of us that are retired that do so, that substitute teach because we don't want to just sit around. We continue to want to have an effect on youth life. Now, I will admit that when I first became a substitute teacher, and especially the long-term roles, I would always get in real early. That's just who I am. And once had somebody tell me, well, you can tell he's new because he's coming in early every morning. And I said, man, that's just who I am. I choose to do this. I care if I get paid or not. Of course I do, but I'm not in it for the pay. We're doing it outside our normal career. We're doing it perhaps outside of the other activities we have going on. Substitute teachers get in it for the love. So do the teachers, but the teachers, it's a career. We've had careers. We're doing it just to get in on being able to affect those kids' lives. I love it when, I told you in last week's episode how students come up to my wife all the time, even if they're in their 20s. She was a fifth grade teacher, and talk about what she meant to them in the classroom. I have students come up to me like that now, even from just substitute teaching. I've only been around long enough to see maybe sixth graders become eighth graders. I guess eighth graders become juniors. I guess that's 4 years of those classes. And it makes me feel good that the relationship that I built with them when they were in the eighth grade still kind of holds true when they're juniors in high school. I want to think that I was important to them. I just did it for fun. I just did it to be a part of their lives. I wanted them to remember me. Did I want to teach them something? Well, I've said from the beginning, to me, that secondary, building the relationships with students is what substitute teachers do. Now, teachers, you do that too, and you do that well. And you know from last week's episode that I think teachers are more important than substitute teachers. And you know from this week's episode that I think substitute teachers are better than teachers. Now, what all this really means, and you knew that I would come to this conclusion. We're all in this together. There are ways in which teachers have more things to do than substitute teachers on certain things. There are ways in which substitute teachers have more emphasis on other things. But we're all important. We're all necessary. We all have the same goal in mind, that we want to have, the best influence on a student's life that we possibly can. We want them to be the type of student that comes up to us later and saying, you were always my favorite teacher. You were always my favorite substitute teacher. We're all in this together. There's not one person that's better than another one. There are ways when each one of us can be better at what we do than other people, or maybe the best way to say it is whether you're a teacher or a substitute teacher, do the best that you can and strive to do it better than everyone else around you.